silence and hold space.
Gam
Ganapataye Namo Namaha Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari
Namaste.
Welcome.
Welcome to our weekly online satsang. Satsang meaning in Sanskrit, community of truth, which sounds pretty fancy. But really satsang is spiritual community that occurs whenever two or more people on the spiritual path of awakening and transformation come together. All it takes, two of us, three even better, the more the merrier. When we come together, our light is multiplied. In a sense, the light is always constant and it's infinite, but our experience of the manifest presence is expanded exponentially when we join together with others and share our journey and share our inner light, our inner peace. That's why it's so important to be part of some spiritual community. So if you don't have one, make one. We share during these satsangs, and the Flowering Heart satsang includes and embraces people from different spiritual traditions, different belief systems, different spiritual teachers from all over the world, from other continents, and very different cultures. What we have in common is that we are on this journey of awakening together. And we share something we call the Flowering Heart Blessing, which is a transmission of divine light, divine grace that catalyzes the process of awakening to our inner divinity, to that being at the center of our spiritual hearts that is enlightenment, that is fully divine. And so many of the spiritual teachings that we're exposed to these days encourage us to take a course, fly somewhere out there, go to somebody outside of ourselves that could maybe give us something we don't already have within. Well, it's certainly true there are people out there who can give us insight and point to things within us that we have not yet realized. But the outer world's a reflection of the inner world. And all those beautiful spiritual experiences out there, and all of those beautiful spiritual teachers and places of power and processes and workshops, all of these things are mirrors. The outer world reflects to us our inner nature. So when we're in the presence of an enlightened being or a saint, a great master, we may experience tremendous presence and energy and life flowing through them very radiantly. What we need to realize is that that's a mirror, that the spiritual teacher is reflecting to us the light that shines from the center of our hearts. The Flowering Heart Blessing is a gift from the divine that in our experience is designed very specifically to awaken that connection in the heart with the infinite divine within, and to cause that connection to begin to flower and blossom and shine out through all the layers of our being: spirit, soul, body, relationships, connections with the world, out through the universe to infinity. That process of unfolding and expansion is catalyzed when one receives the Flowering Heart Blessing. The divine told Suzanne and me that it's grace, which means it's pure gift. None of us deserve it. None of us earn it. It's a free gift. And the divine said, give it away and tell people it comes not from you, it comes directly from me. The divine was very specific. This form of blessing doesn't flow through a hierarchy or an organization or a specific teacher or master. It comes directly from the divine source to awaken that realization and connection within us. And it does it very beautifully. The divine said, tell people when they receive this blessing that they're being activated, initiated to be able to share it themselves. So everyone with us here tonight, everyone who listens to or watches this video in the days, months, years ahead is invited to invite the divine to pour through you the Flowering Heart Blessing and to join us in flowing out the blessing to all the participants in this satsang as long as we're together tonight and beyond. And if you brought some other form of blessing or Diksha or Shakti pot from your tradition, if it comes from the divine source, if its purpose is to help catalyze and facilitate awakening and the flowering of the heart, then please feel free to share that as well during the satsang. But everyone who hears the sound of my voice and connects with this presence is invited by us, but by the divine itself, to allow yourself to be a vessel, an instrument of grace. And you can do it continuously through this whole webcast. You'll find that if you put yourself in that place and let the flowering heart blessing flow through you, you will have a much more powerful and blessed experience than just sitting and receiving. But that's fine too. You're welcome to just be wherever you are and drink it in. Sometimes we need to do that, just take it in. If you don't have a spiritual community that you really connect with, a meditation group or a group that follows some particular spiritual practice or teaching or teacher, you could start one. You could go to our website, floweringheart.org, or you could do it yourself if you feel confident. But on our website is a 36-minute video of explaining the power of blessing, how blessing works, and there's a guided meditation that's an initiation that's really, really graced, really potent. And 36 minutes later, you could play it on your laptop with one other person or two other people, turn it off and begin to share the blessing with each other, and you have a spiritual community. It's so simple that I think people don't realize maybe how beautiful and powerful it would be if you opened your space to allow that to happen with you and a few other people. So we encourage that. Let's see. Also, this coming Sunday, which would be March 27th, 2022, is our monthly Interfaith communion with the Cosmic Christ. And it's interfaith, it's open to people of all faiths. You don't need to be a Christian. If you have an attraction to Christ consciousness, to the path of the heart, to the cosmic Christ, which is that divine aspect that shined, yes, through Jesus of Nazareth 2,000 years ago, incarnated through his humanity, but has existed forever and will exist forever. It's that aspect of the divine that is pure unconditional love and grace. And it is another way of understanding it is the spark that is at the center and the heart of everything in the manifest universe. There's a spark of the divine in a rock, in a tree, in a mountain, and in you and me that contains within it the whole divine plan, the blueprint for the unfolding and blossoming of the whole divine plan. And so if you feel attracted to the path of the heart, you might be a Sufi, you might be a Mahayana Buddhist, who knows? Because the path of the heart, I think, is present in some way in all the spiritual traditions. So feel free to join us. It's 11 a.m. Eastern Time, the last Sunday of the month, which is going to be this next Sunday. And the title this month is going to be The Quickening. And we're going to be quickened. We are going to be taking in light, the light of eternal, unlimited life. We're going to be saturated with it. So who wouldn't love that? Please join us if you feel attracted. Other than that, if you drop in tonight or you watch this at another time, please give us a like or a love or some other face, hopefully not the one that's angry. We'll pray for you if you're angry. But yeah. So Suzanne and I love to go in and click on those hearts and thumbs up and other faces and see who joined us. Of course, if you make a comment in the chat, then we'll see it. But otherwise, please, let us see your thumbs up. Anything else?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. It is 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And you can tune into it. It'll be here on Facebook Live. It will be on our YouTube account. It will be on our LinkedIn account. It will be at Vimeo, which is our live streaming platform. But if you found your way, and if you found your way to Vimeo, you know where to go on Sunday. If you found your way here, you can just come back to our my profile page on Facebook, and we'll be streaming live. And the recording of it will be archived right here on Facebook and on Vimeo and on those other platforms I mentioned. So you could come back at a later time and watch it if you're not able to join us at 11 a.m. on Sunday. We go till right about 12:30. It's an hour and a half. And
Time for questions.
time for questions. We open it to questions and answers, preferably on the spiritual journey, on your spiritual practice, what you may be experiencing or not experiencing. We might be able to give you some clarity, shed some light on things that you are experiencing or that you're not experiencing and want to. So please join the process here if you can with a question. I know we all have these lingering questions. You don't have to share it, but it helps everyone. And even if we don't, in the instant that you ask, know the answer, we look within, and the divine gives us inspiration. And all of us are helped because all of our journeys, while they're uniquely different, somehow parallel one another, and we go through a lot of the same ups and downs, challenges and experiences on the path of awakening and God realization, the flowering of the heart. So we'll wait a few minutes on that, and then a little bit later we'll be doing blessings by intention. See, blessing can be given a number of different ways, actually. It can be given through the eyes, and we'll do that at the end of our satsang tonight. We call it the light meditation. There are fancy Sanskrit names for it, but blessing can be given through the eyes. That's one of the I hate to say higher, but it is one of the more sublime forms. But something we can all do is we can all give blessing by intention. And that would be just to hold in your consciousness, the consciousness of your heart, someone or someone's or a situation that needs help or would like assistance. It could be their spiritual journey, it could be for physical healing or help with material needs. And you hold that situation in your heart, and you just invite the divine in meditation or in prayer to pour the flowering heart blessing through you to that situation, and then just relax. You don't need to visualize anything. You don't need to ask or beg or do. There's nothing more. The divine does it all. That's what's so beautiful about it. That's why anyone can give the flowering heart blessing. The other way it's done is in person, in your physical presence, with informed consent. Whenever we touch someone with the intent of transferring spiritual energy, we should always explain what we're doing and have the informed consent of that person. And then you just gently lay your hands on top of their head and let go. Again, the divine does all the rest, and you'll intuitively know when it's been long enough. And everybody always feels it. I don't know how that works, but it does. So, okay, More on Vimeo, hi More, asks, how can I conciliate responsibility with empathy and compassion? Before the pandemic, the quarantine, and the war, I was more demanding. Now seeing so much suffering, I feel everyone is doing its best. Yeah, it's all of this has been softening us up. I mean, we go one of two ways when we are challenged, like we have been challenged with things like the global pandemic and all the quarantining that's in lockdowns and things that have been going on, so much confusion over what to do about all of that. And now war, of course, there's always been war on this planet. And one of the things I've heard people say is, how come now you're noticing? Why weren't you noticing what's been going on in Africa? Well, we have been noticing. This one's been really right in our faces. And so, yes, I think one of two things happens. Either our hearts tenderize and soften with empathy and compassion, or we harden. And I do see some people's hearts becoming very, very hard. And I understand why. I mean, you said it. Everyone is doing their best. One of the things that really dawned on me during my many travels to India is that I was judging myself for not doing my best at certain points in my life. I mean, really, I could do better, couldn't I? Well, as it turns out, we're doing the best we can do at our current level of consciousness. And the people that I judged in the past because of what they were doing or not doing, I discovered they were doing the best they could do. And I was judging them for not being in a higher state of consciousness, which isn't entirely up to us. It is true that we can work toward that. It is true that we can work toward peace. It's true that we can cooperate empathetically and with service to help our fellow human beings. But you know, we can't do that beyond our current level of grace and awakening. And it does, when we begin to see that, it softens our heart. So how do you reconcile responsibility with empathy and compassion? You follow your heart. Really. It is a balancing act. And being a Taoist, I understand a lot about balance, the balance of yin and yang, and the balance of making a contribution balanced with personal spiritual practice and growth. There are all these balancing acts. It's best done when we're living spontaneously from the heart. That's the only time I've ever found true balance, is when I surrender to the inner divine, or whatever you want to call it, the Tao, and let go. And I'm led by something mysterious that's beyond anything I could come up with. So that's the best answer I can give you.
I think too, during those trying years that we've had, I mean, things have always been trying, but it seems to be escalating. For me, the most responsible thing that I can do right now is to continue growing and continuing to deepen into heart consciousness, because it's dawning on me, especially during quarantine. I know many of you heard about my little experiences out of righteous indignation, you know, picking up trash or sending blessings to people that were driving really loud popping cars and all of this stuff. What I realized from that, especially this one street that I cleaned up, is it stayed clean for like the last 2.5 years. And I was putting consciousness into it, blessing that street and asking, you know, that people be conscious when they drive through there and not just throw stuff out of their car. So coming to that realization, I always knew that, I knew intellectually that all of us coming together and all of our consciousness working together would have a huge ripple effect. But to be able to see it in action in my life with one gesture in one hour walk, and to see the ripple effect of that has really made me start to go deeper and looking at my thought processes, looking at when I'm criticizing, you know, doing the inner work, looking at when I'm judging, looking when I'm being critical, looking at me saying, oh, I hope this doesn't happen in the future, instead of changing it to, I know that everything's going to be okay. I know that the divine is involved in this, and I see the divine in each person. So actually what you're doing in, you know, seeing compassion for your fellow humans is the most responsible thing that we can be doing. I mean, if we all had that kind of compassion with each other and that patience, it holds space and room for the other person to grow. And it has to start with us being able to see what you just brought up. So, beautiful question.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't help going through the day. At some point, I want to demand that someone be more conscious, that someone be more gentle, that someone be more loving, that someone stop doing some crazy thing they're doing. But that's just the ego. And so if we're going to make demands, we have to start with ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we find that, we can call ourselves to a higher standard. We can raise the bar. But that's it. We need to be the change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it starts with paying attention to our thoughts and our words and our communications and our body language throughout the day as we're having interactions.
Kenneth, back on Facebook, shared something that I think is so true. Kenneth writes, meditation for peace in the world has helped me deal with all the ugliness and feelings of helplessness. Yeah. And that's interesting. How do we meditate for peace in the world? There are various ways to do it. We shared one last week, which is a guided meditation that countless people all over the world are doing this meditation for world peace.
Millions.
And the name of the website is meditation.
Global Peace Meditation.
GlobalPeaceMeditation.com. And they do beautiful meditations, especially, it goes on all the time, nonstop. But when there's a particular crisis in the world, they'll do a special meditation that focuses on grace for that situation. So right now, peace is the focus. But also, I'm thinking just meditating, period. I remember some of the studies that the TM movement did, Transcendental Meditation, of just having people meditating and just the kind of meditation that focuses on transcendence of the mind, of the self, of everything, and just being in the peace of the transcendent oneness. And then watching how that changed the communities that they were targeting by being there, just being there and meditating. And crime rates would drop, violence would drop, positive changes. And that's been written about. Those studies were done years ago. But simply by holding space, I think we can definitely do more. I can already feel someone say, we could do more than that. Well, we probably can. Suzanne, started picking up trash. And that changed that neighborhood. She did more. It
changed me.
And it changed her, yes. And that was beautiful seva. But in addition to that, instead of judging, she was just carrying that peace of the presence, which is pure love, which is spaciousness, which is openness. That is a ministry of presence, it's sometimes called. So, yeah, meditation, period, brings peace in the world, brings peace in us. And peace is very contagious, as is, and we can obviously look at the ripples in the world these days and see that all states of consciousness spread. We're not really separate beings. We are part of a vast universal consciousness. As human beings, we are part of human collective consciousness. And so if we're all anxious, if we're all worried, if we're full of fear, if we're full of judgment, then that ripples out and affects people around us. If someone walks in the room where you are and they're very angry or they're very depressed, even if you're not a great empath, that person just coming in the room will affect your energy and the feeling in the room. But even more so, an awakened being or a meditator, but a really awakened being walks in the room, and that, without a word, without a thought, just ripples out, and it is exponentially, infinitely more powerful than negative consciousness. So again, be the change.
Be the change.
And to have a consistent spiritual practice is a great way to do it. And meditation is great because it's a direct route to shifting our attention from our bodies and our thoughts and our feelings to the divine presence, which you might go, I don't think of it that way. I think of it as silent emptiness. Fine, same thing, actually. So that's a great reminder, Kenneth. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And we encourage people to find a meditation practice that works. I mean, Thich Nhat Hanh said, walk. Just walk. It does all kinds of wonderful things. So for some people, it could be walking, it could be running, it could be very physical, it could be Tai Chi Chuan or doing Qigong in my Taoist heritage. But sitting quietly with the eyes closed and just letting go of everything. Nothing to do, nothing to fix, nothing to figure out. Just let all that go for 20 minutes and just feel being, feel existence. In India, there's a saying, Satchidananda, but what it basically means is awareness of being is bliss. It's peace. And so just let yourself drop everything for a few minutes every day. And in the beginning, for some of us, that can take some real work. But if you find a spiritual practice you're comfortable with or a meditation practice and you just keep at it, I think most of us, within a month, if we just did it and stayed with it every day, in spite of the fact the mind says, nothing's happening, this is baloney, you're deluding yourself. I mean, the mind can be a nasty little villain to try to shake us off the path. But if we just stick with a meditation practice we feel comfortable with, within a month or less, generally for most people, you'll begin to notice that there's peace whenever you go to that practice. And that emotional charges and negative thoughts are not sticking to you. Meditation is like spiritual lubrication. Stuff just doesn't stick to you. It slides away. But you have to stick with it for a little while. And we have on our website, floweringheart.org, there is a page there which you can find. I think it's in our meditation room, but where I share 10 different simple meditation practices, and you could just try a few of them and see what works for you or what doesn't work for you. That can be just as helpful as what does work. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you're back, Moray, your signal. We haven't, at our end, it hasn't frozen or lost sound. I can check all the dials and the bells and whistles here and everything's still going. So it's probably your internet connection. I hope it returns. But if for some reason it doesn't, when you do get a good internet connection, you can come back even a few minutes from now, or well, a little later tonight, and watch the recording. Oh, you're back. Yay. Okay. Any more comments or questions before we move on? We love them.
Those are great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And it's great when the mind sort of drops away and there are no questions coming up. I mean, that's a deep form of awakened consciousness in meditation. Yeah. And sometimes one of the obstacles that we face as we begin to grow in higher consciousness is the mind never stops. It keeps coming up with questions, but what about this? But what about that? Oh yeah, but how about this point of view? But have you considered this, and what if that? And we call those fundamental questions. like what's the meaning of life, you know? They're fascinating. They grab a hold of your attention and they don't do any good. The answers don't do any good at all. Letting go of all that does. But sometimes in order to let go, we need help gaining clarity and having some light shined on the question that just won't let go. We like to help with that. Okay. I'm not sure the question. Holding space of? Well, the space of feeling of the presence, the felt presence, the inner peace that you've grown into through your faith life, through your meditation and prayer practice. There is this space inside of you that is free, that is beginning to experience space around your thoughts, around your feelings, around the situations that happen. It used to just be one thing after another bombarding us. But as we grow spiritually, we begin to experience space between the thoughts and the feelings, space between the breaths. And that space is something that we hold and carry with us all the time, even though half of our awareness may be involved in a lot of activity in the outer sheaths of existence. You can't always avoid that. But as we deepen in awakening, we become more increasingly aware of that space within the heart that is always at peace, always safe. And it's very contagious.
And when you're holding that space inside of you, like Michael said earlier, that when you walk into a room with somebody that feels that peace, that feels that space, it's contagious. You know, you want to have that peace also, and so it makes your consciousness want to continue growing. So as we're holding that space within us, we're also holding it for others. Like you said earlier about, you know, seeing everybody as with compassion, because you know that they're doing the best that they can. And just that love and that compassion is holding space for them to be who they are, which allows them to have their own aha moments of, oh, maybe I could do this differently. So keep up. Keep up the good work.
Reminds me, you may have heard me tell this before, because it's one of my favorite St. Francis stories, and I'm a Franciscan as well as a lot of other things. And St. Francis used to live with his brothers who were all contemplatives, spent a lot of time in what in the East they would call meditation, in the West contemplative prayer, a lot of time in the woods and in the mountains, just immersing themselves in contemplation and meditation of the divine. And they didn't live in buildings at first, they just lived in the woods, free, wandered around barefoot. And it was quite a life. And one day Francis is deep in contemplation, and he hears this raucous, draws him out of his rapture, and he hears Brother Doorkeeper, the one whose job that day was to watch the entrance to their camp to see who came and went, and he hears him yelling and all this commotion, and he comes out and he says, "What is going on?" And Brother Doorkeeper says, "Those three murderous thieves that have been going through this area of Italy, robbing people and murdering them, those three men just came to the door of our encampment, and they asked me to let them in and feed them, you know, and give them shelter. And I said, 'No, you don't. I know who you are. You need to repent. You're murderers and you're thieves.' And I chased them off." And Francis began to weep and went, "Oh no." "What do you mean, oh no? Francis, I did my job. I kept the door, you know, I kept us safe." He said, "Those three men were lost. They were human beings created in the image and likeness of God. And you could have seen Christ in them. And you could have looked past their murderous, hardened veneer and looked into the core of their being and seen the divine and served that. And instead you treated them like murderers and you threw words at them and things at them and drove them off. Now here's what you need to do. And he had him take some cheese and some bread and some wine and he said, you go out there and you find them, and when you find them, fall on your knees and apologize to them for your rudeness and say, I am so sorry the way I treated you. You too are the beloved of God, and St. Francis sent me to invite you to, here's the food, come live with us. We will take care of you, we will clothe you, we will give you a place to sleep, we will feed you. And so, from now on, you don't need to rob or murder anyone because all of your needs will be met. Okay? And I'm sure they looked at each other and went, this guy's an idiot. But they weren't going to miss a good opportunity. So they followed him back to the Franciscan encampment. They came in, and as they were surrounded by the space that Francis and the brothers had created, it gave them an opportunity for their divine potential to flower within them. And that hardened, dark, evil veneer to just drop away. And the end of that story is that those three thieves became saints. It's well known in the Franciscan order, this story and what happened to those three guys, because somebody held space for them instead of chasing them away and condemning them. So, I like that story. I'll probably tell it again if you stick around long enough, sooner or later. One of my favorites. Okay. So, that's holding space. All right, it's time. So, if your eyes are still open, just close your eyes and feel your spiritual heart. That's the center of your being. Feel your being. There at the center of your spiritual heart dwells the divine presence in all of its glory. As Rumi, the great Sufi saint, said, you're not simply a drop of the ocean. You are the entire ocean within a drop. The entire Godhead dwells within you. The entire universal presence is within you right in this moment. And that presence is pure unconditional love. There is no separation between you and the one presence of the divine. There has never been any separation. That feeling of separation, that sense of endarkenment, is all in the mind. And the divine yearns to shine light in that void, to shine light in that feeling of separateness and draw you deeply into the embrace of unity with Source. Whatever challenges, whatever problems you bring with you to this satsang, release the weight of all of your cares into the heart of the divine. The divine is drawing you and all of your troubles into itself right now. Just relax and enjoy the ride. let us imagine ourselves in a circle together. And you can lift up your hands with your palms open, facing forward. Let us imagine, visualize, if you will, the earth, the beautiful blue living planet in the center of our circle. And let us together take a strong intent and ask the divine to make wars cease to the end of the earth, and to pour out peace. To pour out the blessing of a flowering heart onto all and within all of humanity, that conflict and war may cease, and humanity may awaken into oneness. Shanti means peace. Peace, peace.
Peace, peace, peace.
Peace, peace, peace for the earth. And now, when you're ready, relax and open your eyes. Begin to make eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Let's keep looking at least one of our eyes. There's nothing else to do, really. As we enter the light meditation, floods of grace and light and love pour through Suzanne and me, through every part of our being, but especially through the eyes, the doorways of the soul. So as you keep making eye contact, that light shines in through your eyes, into your spiritual heart, to cause the light of awakening, the flames of divine love to burn ever brighter within you. keep meditating as long as it feels good to you. Or lie down nearby in Savasana, which is to lie on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward, and just dissolve in the presence and gratitude. We love you a lot.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we cross paths again, know that the divine within us beholds and acknowledges the divine within you. Namaste.